Okay, I think we're good. Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My mic decided not to work for 5 seconds, but we're here nonetheless. Hopefully you're all doing well. Hopefully you've had a great day so far. We are supposed to be on Square, but the stream is just not working. So we're only on YouTube. So hello to everyone on YouTube. I can talk about exchanges all I want now. Okay, I'm not banned. I'm not shackled by the control of Binance or anything. But anyway, been pretty exciting so far. Obviously, we had a stream Friday, so I didn't do Saturday. Obviously, I've now moved on to Thursday to be able to do this stream because I wanted to have Wednesday out of the way. Okay, I didn't want anything going wrong of what I wanted to say. So I wanted to talk about, obviously, it's coming from Wednesday, coming from data. I've just made my camera go blue, so hopefully it doesn't move too much. But I did also want to talk about that. Actually, I will bring that up. So the consensus was 4.25, previous 4.5. We are at 4.25, so good, fine. Nothing really went too crazy, I don't think. Obviously, there was always that volatility during the moment, but not really anything too crazy happened. Long-standing or long withstanding, whatever the hell the phrase is. It was pretty good, so we're fine. Pretty much out of the woods in terms of crazy stuff. I think pretty much. I mean, Japan, Great Britain, no one cares. It's mainly the US, which is really where the interesting part is. And we don't have anything. We're done. We're out of the woods. We're fine, okay, so nothing to panic about anymore. So obviously we are back, finally back for another stream. Okay, it's been a long time. So hello to everyone in the chat. Tito's here, KB is back, hello even to you. Mags is here. Mike's here. I know Danny was on Square, but the streams weren't working, so maybe he might come over to YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, let me start this timer before I forget, because I always forget, and I always spend way too long on these streams, talking. So, 117.761 for Bitcoin, very good. So, long term, in terms of coming from our max high to max low, we're doing pretty fine. I don't think this is a 140k pump. I don't think this is a here we go guys, we're out the woods, you know. I know I just said that, but you know, we're out of this pump, we're out of this dump, guys. You know, we're coming to the pump. Here we go to 140k. I don't think anything like that. I just think we're having a nice good old retracement for us to continue downwards. 4,600, very good for Ethereum. Again, obviously a movement I was waiting for. Again, Ethereum was getting really boring. I spent 3 streams, whatever it was, just looking at Ethereum, not doing a single thing. So thankfully we've actually done something and actually moved upwards, which is lovely. $3.11 for XRP, and I think we're talking about $2.90, and we had resistance above us. So I guess we just come to there. I haven't looked at XRP in a while actually. Solana 250. Solana. Okay, Solana's a bit of a wild horse here. I do need to look at Solana. I know some people have been getting involved in Solana on the Telegram, so I will look at Solana. Solana, because obviously we had 225, we have where we are now basically, and then there's not really much in our way. So, you know what I mean? And we're already at the other end of the stick in terms of this, where we are right now, not being too crazy of a resistance point. So I'm very intrigued about Solana, so obviously we'll go through it. Yeah, and Sui, $3.96, really good so far. Obviously, $3.11 was the price, was the low. $3.10, $3.15. Obviously, we've talked about us coming to this low point. We've been talking about the move up. I did take a screenshot. I think I posted it on X. I don't know if I actually did manage to get around to posting it. I was talking to Mike about Sui anyway, so I do have some TA. I've already done a Sui. I know it's doing pretty well. So $4 is really good there. Syrup, I'm probably not going to be able to find it if I scroll. I probably would. I don't know, maybe I've missed it. Let me just search. What is Syrup at? 45, pretty good. Again, we came up to 50, whatever it was, nearing the 50 area, and have come back down, had 2 nice lows, so obviously coming back down for Syrup right now. And then Crow's the other one. Crow, again, obviously, I've been calling for 22 cents. I think we got to 22.4 area. We got very close towards that 22 cent mark. Obviously, we've come into our big support area. No one wanted 22. Okay, we came down towards 22. We're doing pretty well. I am actually also interested about Crow because I do think, I have actually been looking at it, I do think we might have something going on right now which could potentially lead into us, you know, finding our low somewhere near where we are right now. So I will look at that. I probably won't look at Liberty Finance because I don't really care anymore. I don't know if anyone else cares. If you do want me to look at it, I'm more than happy to look at it. But I have not looked at it since last stream, which was quite a while ago. So I do not know what's happened with it. But I am just not interested in the slightest. So I can look at it if you want me to, but I'm more than happy to skip it. So I think without further ado, I think we can move on to the first chart, which is Bitcoin. So see what we got. So we have our low. I've got this on the daily here because this is the thing. We have, I was talking down here about what we're doing, obviously looking on the 1 hour and whatnot, but I want to talk about this on the daily because again, we've had Wednesday, which didn't take too much craze of price. It didn't, you know, make us do anything crazy. Obviously we've been continuing upwards anyway right now for 117, but it's not really, on the grand scheme of things, not really an insane moment right now in the market. We've had this, you know, massive move. Look, if you look at our normal, you know, price action, just look at what we've actually done. Obviously we've had this move upwards, had our higher low. We've failed, you know, we barely, I don't really think, we might have printed by a smidgen. We didn't really get above this high. We wicked past it and then started to fall down past this low and continue downwards. And then the kind of consensus, the idea, a lot of people agree with this. I think Mike agrees with this as well. Obviously, this is what I've been saying anyway, in terms of, okay, I think this is our new low now. I think we might be on the way down. Again, a lot of people are calling for a lot of different prices. You know, Mike has 100k, I think. Obviously, we've had our 90k areas, you know, down for some of these areas and whatnot. So there are plenty of areas people have been talking about. Obviously, you know, the first step being some of these areas we had. Obviously, with this low, we've had two, or for me anyway, we had two main areas. It was the first initial move we had, which I think looks better on the weekly, but we had the first initial move we had to bring us up towards 123k. And then we had this main area down here, which haven't gone there. Obviously, we've gone near this area in this move down here to get towards this bottom point of this. Obviously, we had our move downwards into it to come to it here and obviously move back upwards. Same thing here. We had this area. We've come down and come down again, and we've actually extended even further past because I do think this is a more pronounced move downwards towards some longer price areas. And obviously, the longer we spend going upwards, the more the spread between the high and the low being, the more we would have to recover and retrace in to have a actual valid, or not valid, not saying higher lows are invalid, but a general retracement up or down, in this case obviously being down, would have probably a larger effect. So obviously in this case, you know, if you have a small high, small low, you have a small retrace for a lower high and then come down, you know, it's normal structure. If you are to follow the idea of lower highs and lower lows, obviously the idea that if you have a bigger spread in terms of lows and highs on the way down, you have more of a pronounced move up and downwards. So the idea that is, obviously, if you have a really big, you know, coming from a low to high, it's really big. And let's say you're in a downtrend. Obviously, in this case, you want to be, you know, you found your high, you're aiming for the low. In this case, you have to continue that move. And in this case, obviously, if you're doing a lower high, you're going to be finding resistance somewhere in this. You found resistance, it's going to be a really high move. Obviously, not as big as this move, because again, you are moving downwards. But in the idea that if you have a big trend, obviously, whether that be whatever time frame you're looking at, it doesn't really matter. It's the idea that when you have these moves, if you have massive moves, the idea is, okay, you're going to be wanting to continue higher a bit and lower. Obviously, what we have been talking about as well, obviously, if you've been in any of my streams, obviously you guys, I'm only on YouTube tonight, and I'm pretty sure everyone here is obviously within the community, so I know you guys have been on my streams talking about the idea that producing a new higher time frame low being this 170k area, or 107k area I should say. Obviously on the daily we can see, yes, okay, we had this low and we had this move upwards, then we had this low and we've printed past it. So we know for sure on the daily and everything subsequent, we know that's going to be us printing past that low easily. Now on the weekly, it's a bit different here. So obviously we have a low here, and this is, again, this is our main thing. This is the main low. We have this low, move upwards, move down, main low, move upwards. And again, you can see the expansion is a lot slower, we have a bit of retracement. We have this low, we have a print past this low, and then we've come upwards. Obviously, the idea, we have this range. You can kind of see, you could probably argue this could be the low to look at, but I'm going to say this is the main low, as we've had this low, this expansion, and then we didn't really expand again. Although, to be fair, this kind of is the low. Either way, the idea is, you know, on the weekly anyway, you know, regardless of what you're looking at, I suppose it is regardless of what you're looking at, do you determine this being the main low? Because technically we did expand here, we did retrace, we did come upwards, fail to swing, print pass. So technically, actually, we've pretty much done this already on the weekly. What I was going to say was, okay, if this is the main low of move upwards, main low, move upwards, we haven't quite come down yet, and this is our low, then we want to get past this low. But either way, if we've got past this low, we're probably going to be aiming towards this low anyway. So once we print past this area at 107, as we've been talking about on the daily, that will help to pronounce this on the weekly, on the higher time frames, and have a larger move downwards as you would expect. So if you're looking at this on the 1 hour, 4 hour, and you're not looking at the weekly, and you know this sort of thing occurs, it might look so drastic on the 4 hour, but it's normal. It is normal market movement relative to higher time frames. So it's kind of obviously a thing we've been talking about for a while now, in terms of the idea that the higher you produce your highs and the less impactful your swing upwards is, the easier it is going to be to get towards that low, print past it, and start to have a downtrend, if you know what I mean. In the example of, for example, what happened? In the example of, I'm throwing out phrases here. I don't know what's going on, throwing out words here. This low and then this low. The disparity between these two lows is obviously going to be the move we had to produce these lows. So obviously we had this low, whatever, move up, had this low. Big old move here. We've got a lot to get through. A lot we didn't actually get through. Obviously we had one here, which obviously we came to use actually pretty on the nose there, and then obviously move upwards again. But we, the difference obviously now with this low and this low, obviously we kind of produced this low, came upwards, and then this new low has got through all of our previous price action, which formed this. So we do have support in this area, which obviously I've marked out here, which I have drawn on previous streams as well. So in terms of, you know, this candle, obviously I've marked it with this top line here. You can see we bounced off it, we've come back upwards now. So again, weekly trend, this makes sense. Weekly, this makes sense. Coming upwards, obviously we have started to potentially reverse through, or we've come to fill this area. Obviously you've produced something little on here. I will talk about this blue area in a second as we move down. I try to do it like top down, where we go for the weekly, goes to the daily, 4 hour, we kind of do it in a process. So in terms of anyway, going back to this low, apart from some, you know, last standing support points over here, it's not really, there's not anything in this previous price action. If you compare it to obviously this price action where we did have this, you know, massive gap area, and on lower time frames we'll have some things back here as well, and we had this gap. So the likelihood, chance, and the strength we'd have to have on the downside to get towards this low, to print past it, to break out of this move upwards we've been having for so long, is, you know, a lot harder. But again, obviously, if you have a low here, it's quite easy to get past this low. We're in a downtrend here, we get to this low, and then there you go. Again, how is this familiar? Well, if you look at this one, obviously low, high. This one here as well, we didn't really have a lot going on here. We came through it very hard with this low, came upwards, you know, failed to print past here, got past this low, and then from there, that's a good downtrend. So we have one or two more moves downwards. Failed to get past this low. Okay, we print past this high. That's a good sign. What do we have? A gap here. We fill this gap and then we pump. So again, a lot of precursor on the weekly here in this range on September 2024, easily, you know, marked out with this move. But in the example that you can clearly see on the weekly, yeah, technically we are in a downtrend only until we reach areas like this gap, or if you probably go to the 2 week time frame, we'll see a combined candle here, where you can see it a bit clearer. We have main candle, we came to fill that little candle, we fill this one quite nicely, and obviously if we have a range here, we can see we're only just about getting past the equilibrium here. We're getting to this main point here. We fill this. This is probably a good chance to have that retracement, come upwards, have that retracement, if you know what I mean. So in the example that we can have these weekly, I don't know, I want to be on Wayfair. What am I doing? I thought, I need to be one. I forgot about that. You have the prefix of a number. Anyway, so in the example that we can have these downtrends on the weekly and still continue an uptrend. So I think the same thing's probably going to happen in the sense that we have this low, high, low. We have our last low here. If we fail to get above this area and we continue back downwards, print past this low, we're going to be in a bit of a downtrend here until we hit a certain area. And again, we have plenty full area at 92, 93, whatever it is exactly in this area where I think price has had this move where we slow down, get to it, and then obviously continue on the high time frame all the way upwards towards where we're going to aim for or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much kind of what I'm feeling with this, where on the weekly anyway, where I think this is probably what's going to be happening. So I'll go to the daily, but I will have a look at chat. I haven't actually said hello to everyone. Tito, said hello. KB, Danny is here. Obviously, the Square stream just did not work. I do not know why. I copied the code properly. It just doesn't work sometimes, but it is what it is. Price has just been range bound inside the weekly liquidity gap candle. So is that the entire candle? I'm pretty sure, obviously, based on the liquidity gap, in terms of where you have a gap, instead of just looking at the individual, you look at the entire thing. If I'm not mistaken, is that how that works? If I remember, obviously, it was a while ago we had you on the stream talking about it. I'm pretty sure instead of looking at the individual, it's the entire thing, right? So that would make sense in terms of coming to the low here and then coming upwards, I would assume, towards higher ends as well. Yeah, I could see that. Again, I don't know if we actually got past this low. Okay, we did. So also we got past this low. We did have that this candle here where we came into this gap and filled it. Last candle, which came into this area, and then this pump here, which recovers this candle, is the area of support, if you will. So obviously, as soon as you come down in towards this area, there is also another aim where we also, just about got past that area here with this. So, there's a multitude of things. Exactly that, right, great. So that makes sense, yeah. So in terms of the idea of if we're ranging inside of it, would that incur, if that's the right word, us coming towards the top end of it? I could definitely see that. Again, I will now move to the daily and actually explain some more things. So I will come back to that candle. So we have this blue area. So I talked about this maybe last stream, maybe the stream before. I don't remember which one it was exactly. In terms of this area being a resistance point, or the high and the low, this whole area kind of being a bit of a resistance area. And the idea that we could even come as high as this area as a general. Obviously, we do have, again, this is something I drew. Obviously, not as low as this low. I think I must have drawn it over here because as we were going down, I don't think it was last stream or the stream before. It must have been quite a while ago. But we have drawn this range in terms of looking at just where, obviously not really focusing on this area. I could probably delete this area. Mainly just focusing on are we having a good reach? Have we had a valid or have we had a strong enough retracement for us to warrant us starting, failing to print past this area, pumping downwards, printing past this area, coming upwards, failing to obviously continue or to reverse again and printing past all-time high. I don't think that's going to happen, and then producing a lower high and then continuing downwards in theory. So one of the reversal things you can look for is this series of candles which come into an area of, so it's similar to an order block, one of these things where you have these candles. This one is also significant as well. If we look at this one, actually I'll draw it as a range instead just to make it a bit easier to look at. I actually had this drawn, I think, last stream and stream before, I actually can't remember, but I did have it drawn. I did have this one drawn. But the idea that if you come into if you come down, obviously this one came past these lows here, but if you print downwards and then have a candle which or a movement which kind of recovers this down move in one kind of swoop and then retraces, you can see we use it as support here. Obviously in this case as well, using these areas as support, so we have this candle is going to be a propulsion, but that's a different story for a different time. Obviously you can see we actually came to the bottom of that one, doesn't matter. In the idea that you have these kind of these moves where you have kind of a low and then you produce higher, and then the idea is you could use this area as a support point and then continue higher. Kind of, it was like a trend following idea, if you will. It's probably a horrible explanation, but it can work in the opposite effect, where we obviously, again, a lot of things, I think most people, not just on what I talk about, but I think in general, I think that I think one of the most common things in between plentiful amount of different strategies and tools, whatever people use to trade, I think the one biggest thing I think marks out for every sort of strategy is context. And I think context is so crucial, especially different time frames, looking at what you're doing on different time frames. And also, you can't just draw, random things, or you can't just go, okay, well, there's a random gap here. Obviously, this might not be the greatest example because obviously we have technically used it in this move, which came upwards, but it doesn't matter. Just as an example, we have this random gap here. If I drew every single gap which ever single formed, I'm gonna go, well, this only works like this percent many times, or this amount of times, or it hardly works, or whatever. I think a lot of people I'm not saying I'm a saint, but especially what I did anyway at the beginning was when I looked at things and tried to find things which worked on the chart, I would apply every singular example of that formation, if you will, no matter what the context of the market was, and sort of the bias of what the market was. And I didn't look at that in the slightest. I just drew it every single time and go, okay, why did we not use it here, and why did we use it here? And obviously it's because, okay, well, in this case, we need to pay attention to the fact that we've just come past a all-time high, and this is going to be a massive sell area, and the likelihood chance, are we going to continue to go higher and higher considering how long we've been going up for, that sort of thing, in terms of not the specifics of every single candle, but the formations the candle makes, in terms of, okay, we've come to an all-time high, or okay, well, we've just came past some highs, are we realistically going to be pumping much longer than this, or are we going to start to retrace, in terms of normal market structure. And if you're not going to be looking at that, you don't want to look at every single scenario. For example, this case, we had a gap in this candle. To be fair, we did use that one as well. Technically, we did came up, came down. In this case, we had this area in this candle. We did form support. Okay, I'm trying to find examples here of times it doesn't work. There's other things. Trust me, just trust me. It works, or it doesn't work sometimes. You just have to be careful of when you're using something. I'm gonna stop talking now. Let me continue with the charts. But I don't even know what my point was. I spoke for so long. I even forgot what I was saying. Let's just talk about this blue area. That's what I was talking about, the blue area. Okay, so in the idea that you can use this on a reversal, where basically on the idea, again, you have that one candle which comes down, you have the candle which comes upwards, and you have this one area, it comes into an area of buy, let's say. Obviously this one was really tight here, really good, and then we put print higher than it. The idea is, okay, you're going to want to use this as support, but again, bear this in mind, we've just come past and we failed to print and have wicked past the all-time high. What's the likelihood chance that we're going to be holding this as okay, cool, that's a new high. Now we're going to find a new higher low and continue higher towards 128. It's not that likely. So in the idea that you can form these areas and then reverse them and then use them as resistance and continue downwards, on the sense that you've come upwards, you might have used it as support as well, and you continued upwards, but then as you reverse it, obviously in this case being like this, you can use these areas as resistance on the opposite side of things. So again, it is kind of a not a double-edged sword, but in the sense that these can be bilateral, in terms of, even if they form in the same location, they can mean both same things. Not at the same time, but they can mean both things. So obviously in this case, we know what this, in this example, like we've formed, we kind of came up, formed this low. Obviously in this range anyway, looking at these down close, we have them move upwards and then move downwards. So the idea is we're going to be finding resistance in this area. So that's one confluence in our general idea that we should maybe be coming down on Bitcoin. And again, I will jump to the 4 hour. I do want to speed it up because again, I've got a lot to cover. So I don't want to spend too long or too much on Bitcoin anyway. So okay, we've come above 0.5, we've printed past this low. The idea is we print past this low. Okay, we failed to get past this, so we haven't actually printed a big trend, and we've had this fail, and then we've printed past this low here, really strong, and maybe started to continue back downwards again for Bitcoin. Especially, obviously, I know people use head and shoulders quite often for the charts. Obviously, this is a similar process. Again, I'm not looking at head and shoulders in particular. I'm not saying, okay, well, if we fail to swing here, but that makes sense though. If we fail to get above this high, and we've already printed past this low, the idea is we're looking for a retracement to go lower. So I get the concept of, we have a head and shoulders, but I don't think I don't think you can just slap on head and shoulders willy-nilly and go, okay, look guys, I'm a genius, I know what I'm doing, because it requires reason behind why you're going to stop moving. So obviously in this case, I think we have a plentiful reason in terms of how we've moved in the candles to actually print lower and have this move downwards. So again, on the idea that we are continuing downwards, I can probably delete this area actually. In terms of, this was actually a support area. Again, it's a similar process where we've kind of come down. We had a little gap here, which I was looking at the time. We fill this, so we have this high, and then we have this low. So basically we form this candle, we've come past the low, and now we're coming past this high. So on the sense that now that we've come past this midpoint, we can use it as support. So this was confluence on something I'm about to talk about on the 4 hour. We can see a little gap here. This is just a continuation I was looking at on the lower time frames. But anyway, I'm probably not going to spend too much time on that in the 1 hour because it's not really going to be too much, price action to actually look at. But we do have this main resistance area. I did draw this maybe back in midpoint of August. We did look at this as resistance. I remember looking at this high to this low. We got nowhere near this midpoint, and it was because when I zoomed out to the daily, we had these candles here, which number one, we've come above a high, so we have a point of interest, and then we've printed down really rapidly in this move, which takes these series of candles. So in this whole area should be a resistance area in general. So you can see, obviously, we form it with this, we retrace this as the tiniest bit of a move above it, and then we came downwards and continued our move downwards. So that is also I have this marked just as a line here in general. So the idea, okay, we have a support area here in our trend upwards to continue. We have our trend downwards, we have our trend upwards to continue upwards to do a lower high, and then we're going to have that move downwards in theory. Cool. So we've got that on the board, if you will. So we're getting up. So in terms of, it's kind of like bowling or I don't know what's the best, dominoes or something, like where like you push it and you let it fall until it stops falling, I guess. Where, okay, it's not like I can just draw a random thing here or look at, oh, well, this high is going to be resistance, I know it. It's going to be a thing where, okay, yes, if I have a general idea where I want price to stop moving upwards, I can't just guarantee it's going to stop. It's going to be a thing where I want to watch it, also stop at it, and then go to like the 15-minute, 1 hour and watch it stop moving and actually start to go downwards. I'm not saying you have to do that every time, or not something I have to do that every time I trade, but in terms of, I want to make sure the price is actually moving appropriate to what the price is. Because again, things don't always match up to how they have. So in the idea that, again, and I think as I was talking about with market structure and where the market is currently relative to its previous move, makes sense for this situation. So for example, obviously, in this case, I say we have this gap here. We didn't really use it to print lower and come towards past this low, really. We technically did, I guess, with this move and this move down, technically, but just let me talk. So in terms of, okay, we've just come from an all-time high. We've had a massive move downwards with all these candles. We've come past the low, so we've already overextended past this low. So the idea is we're already looking to stop move and then go upwards to do a lower high and then continue downwards. So in terms of if we produce these massive gaps, what's the likelihood chance these work relative to ones which are nowhere near this, and we've formed them where they do work here and then continue downwards? So that's kind of another example of you want to take context in the market and not just trade willy-nilly. Same here, we don't want to just trade based on a random high, but we still do have a massive resistance area. And I think probably out of everything in this formation downwards is probably the strongest resistance area I would argue we have for Bitcoin, which is this massive resistance area here. And again, the likelihood chance we do another print past the all-time high, and we've done this move. Like, what are we doing at this point? What are we doing? Like, what is this move? You know what I mean? Like, are we realistically going to have all-time high number 2, all-time high number 3? Like, are we going to be doing this really? I don't think so, personally. I think this is us forming a high. And again, it's simple price action. And it's, again, same thing here. We stop going down. We go down until something stops us from going down. We go up until something stops us from going up. Obviously, in this case, we're at all-time high periods. It's hard to digest where exactly it's going to stop us, but we can kind of use stuff. Again, in this case, there is something stopping us. We just can't see it based on previous price action. Again, I have used standard deviation, which had this. But in this case, obviously, we start to go downwards. We stop. We have a reason to stop. And then, okay, we go upwards, we go upwards, we go upwards, we go upwards. And then we take the high. We have a reason to stop. We go downwards, we go downwards, go downwards, there, go down. We've taken the low. We have an area. We have the order block down here. We go down, go down, go down, down. We've stopped. Okay, we've come down until we had reason to stop. We go up, we go up, we go up. We hit it until we have reason to stop. We go down, we go down, go down, go down, go down. We have reason to stop. We go up, we go up, we go down. So it's like you can balance the ups and downs and look at previous price action. And obviously, again, if the market's just open, it's going to be very hard to do any sort of TA. You're gambling at that point. So especially when you're at all-time highs, there are things you can look at probably in the moment on lower time frames to gauge if you're slowing down, I guess. Or obviously I can try to predict where the high is going to be. Obviously a standard deviation I can predict, but you can never call. It's hard to call. You can predict, again, you can go 125k, you know, you can go 150k, you can go 100k, 175, 150, obviously we talked about 150, go 200, so you can do maybe psychological levels, if you will, but there's not really a exact science to predicting an all-time high. I don't think. Maybe there is, maybe I haven't learned about it, and it's probably something I do need to learn about, but when there's actual price action, I'm not saying it is a science, but it's easier to try and call where somewhere's going to go. Again, I just did it with this whole area, obviously the all-time high, but again, we had the gap here, we stopped, we had this move, we came past the midpoint, we hit our point to stop at, we came up, we hit the high, we had our point to stop at, we came down, we came down, we came down, we had an area to stop at, obviously we had this gap we also wanted to fill, but again, in this case, it's the balance between good and evil. Obviously, we go to the 4 hour, we'll see it better. We had a gap here, we came up, we stop at it, we come down. This is also a order block we formed with this move. We come back up, we come past this low here, we find resistance, we come down, we find reason to stop. Once we find that reason to stop, we don't want to be looking at selling again. We found our reason to stop, so we invert this gap, for example. Good entry. You want to enter up until we hit towards above equilibrium. This could be a good area. You invert this gap, you use it. Obviously, this is probably the midpoint coming to that area here, and then you continue upwards. So, like I just said, it's the balance between going up and going down and stopping. So taking that forward, we can use that with where we're going to stop in this price action. Why is price going to stop? Well, we did have this resistance here. We did flip it. Majority of this resistance isn't above that 0.5. So this is kind of gauging, in my personal opinion, obviously not financial advice, where that general area is going to be. You're going to want it to be above this area, but this resistance, the midpoint, this area, it's all below this 0.5 and quite heavily. So are we might see resistance at the top end, and we kind of have been hovering at this area. So yes, we did also hover at this midpoint for this main resistance, but again, this is on like the weekly. This is the major weekly resistance. But then we look above, and we look above this area. We have maybe equal highs here. Obviously, we have wick past them. We're probably seeing a bit of a lower time frame resistance here. Other than that, maybe we have some highs, but then we just have this main resistance here, in my opinion anyway. Main resistance. And then from there, it's not really anything else. And if we are not going to see resistance in here, where are we going to see resistance? You know what I mean? We could wick past the all-time high. That's valid, but I don't think we're going to do that. This is a massive resistance. We have used it previously once, and it was sensitive as hell. We wicked into it, and then we absolutely dumped. So, personally, I do think we are going to see resistance in this area. In terms of exact price, it's going to be relatively somewhere above 118.2. We could continue, and again, I do also want to watch, obviously, on lower time frames, are we going to reverse and whatnot, and do these things. Obviously, I looked at the daily gap here as well to use that, and obviously we had these highs here. This is just different price action I was looking at the time. It doesn't really matter. But then from here, we can go back. We can see, you know, we had these gaps we've used. We had these gaps, we used them. We had the highs, we used them. So we could use them highs. We do have the remainder of this gap. We could fulfill the rest of this, about 120. This also sits on that daily resistance. You know, the midpoint of this is going to be around that 120k area as well. Or actually, in this case, 121 nearly, actually. So, you know, some high stuff going on. So in terms of the exact scientific stopping point, again, it's going to be within this area. So in terms of exact price, maybe if I go to the 1 hour, I could see something else. You know, somewhere we haven't seen before, like this massive area we have not seen of yet. If I can draw this properly, please, that would be really nice. So again, that's about 120k. So we could see something within that area. This would be valid. Anything above that 118.2 area is within that resistance point of this massive move. And on the 1 hour, we do have a gap area coming quite up into here. And again, we are moving, you know, pretty well on like the 4 hour, for example. Obviously, the 1 hour. I mean, the 1 hour, it's seeing some highs here. Obviously, we haven't quite got past this this high at 179 yet. We actually have some 2 highs here actually, but you know, we actually have this whole move we haven't even got past yet. So in terms of we've had this, we didn't print past this low, so we're fine. We're continuing upwards. Anyway, it doesn't matter the specifics of it, but we do have something on the 1 hour, so there is something to go off of. We have some sort of resistance, whether that be on the daily, whether that be on the 4 hour in this case, or in the 1 hour anyway. We have something, so I do think we are gonna. Whether this be too positive, because I know a lot of people have been calling for right now is resistance. Right now we're going down, but I think we could go up a bit higher than where we are right now. I think we have validity to go up a bit higher towards that 120k-ish area here, which sits within this resistance, which sits within this area, I personally think. So that has been 30 minutes on Bitcoin, so I'm going to stop talking about Bitcoin now. I think I've given it its due diligence. Okay, I can say it, trust me. I just want to make sure I can get it out clearly. So I've given it its time. I think we can move on to Ethereum now. So, Ethereum. I have actually marked... This is very impressive for me. I've actually put letters on things. So, yeah, I was getting really bored of Ethereum because we were doing this for a long time, and I was very bored because obviously we had this daily support, we had this propulsion in here, we couldn't get past it. It just was support constantly, and then we came up, finally came upwards, finally moved upwards, finally had a range to look at, finally had a support point with this coming into the support point, which engulfs this is going to be support. We come to the midpoint, we come upwards, we've started to come upwards, we probably want to be aiming upwards. I've already been talking about Ethereum coming back upwards one more time towards these highs, and we could be trying to do that. And again, if we go to the daily, I haven't actually looked at the daily in a while. What I'll do this. Isn't that magical? Can I draw things? Oh, boo. Okay, I'll just like, I'll draw it with my head, in my head, like this. I'll do this, and hopefully you guys can follow along with me in my head. Anyway, so we had these highs. Then we took them and then we came down, we filled this area, we had this down move to fill this gap, which engulfs in this singular candle. So again, that's why we had the daily support here, which had this wick here. That's stuff we've already talked about. So we came to that wick, boom, we come upwards again on the idea that we have a higher low and a higher high. Again, we did print past this high, so we are fine. Equilibrium's here, plentifully down below equilibrium, and now we're starting to come upwards. We've printed past all these highs here, all these equal highs, all these highs. So we have shifted back upwards. Again, we've had a good retracement. We've filled this area on the daily, going back to the 4 hour. There's probably some areas in our area here. Let's go to the 8 hour to try and clean it up a bit. Again, we had that proportion block we already talked about. We had a gap. We've come to fulfill a lot of this move, but if we go based on, let's go back to the 4 hour here. If we go based on, this is like the low to the high, we've had a nice move down. Again, I already had this drawn out with this here, with this midpoint really nice. So the idea is we've already had that retracement for a low, and now we've started to come back upwards and continue to print. So you see on the 4 hour, we've had this downtrend, yes, low, high, print past the low, downtrend, low, and then we have these highs, and we've printed up, wicked past this low, fine, we didn't print, printed higher. So we have printed on the 4 hour as well, up, printed above this high, we did wick past here down to this midpoint, and then print upwards and reverse this. And you can see this is a good entry as well, actually. I think entering on reversed gaps is something that I've learned to accept. I hated the idea of looking at this when I first was learning about trying to look at the charts in this particular way. I never understood why you could just randomly invert it. It never made sense to me. And I remember even on a stream, actually, because I was looking at this just to see if I enjoyed looking at it in my own way. And I remember thinking, I remember even saying this on stream live. I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why you would just randomly reverse it. But it makes sense. It makes sense now. I've spent time looking at it. It makes sense in terms of, and we just talked about this on Bitcoin anyway, if you're at a point where the likelihood chance of you reversing is quite high and you have a gap, the chances you're probably going to reverse that. And there is quite a common thing which I've seen on plenty of charts. We saw it on Bitcoin actually. I'm looking at it right now here, where if this is the, okay, let me draw this properly actually. Where this is the gap, and we reverse it here, and you can see we've kind of come back to this midpoint, and we've hit it. Obviously, we've kind of hit it twice here. If you can probably extend this down and just look at this individual gap we have here, and this also sits really nicely. But equally, just as much, if you didn't have that gap, you could still use this one. And I looked at this on the 1 hour on Bitcoin when we were at the low as well, where we have this inversion which you can use as support and continue upwards with this. So I do think we are continuing upwards. We have had a nice little moment with this low. I do think we are going to be coming back upwards. Again, we have some of these highs here. 4,700 was the old high back all the way over here. We have this high. I don't really care. I might delete this because I don't really care. We've already used it. I don't care about this one. That was the all-time high. I believe that was the all-time high back. Yes, it's the all-time high. So I'm going to delete this as well because, again, we don't need it. We've already used it. So going back to the 4-hour here, maybe in the daily, actually. Let's go to the 4-hour. Here we go. We did, what is this? A rejection block? Yeah, okay. So we have this really, this candle here. So that is also something to maybe get in the way. I don't necessarily think it's going to be something horrible. Again, we've had this general area. You can see from the high to the low here. You can see the relative, like, optimum area is about here. If we kind of stencil it out, let me draw this properly. If we stencil that out, you can see we've been in this area for quite a while, and now we're starting to go upwards. So aiming for this high, I do think so. I mean, we do have this. I don't really think I don't like looking at these massive wicks with these tiny bodies. I know people. There's a lot of people who trade this sort of mentality where you take a really high interest point, and then the candle comes right back down. We have this massive wick here with no body. This is apparently resistance area, or whatever the magic behind it is. I don't know if I like looking at this in particular, but obviously I do want to mark it out just in case, just because obviously I have seen it before. But anyway, we had the high, we have this low. I do think we are going to be aiming towards that high again. No biggie. I think Ethereum is coming back upwards. Obviously been saying since, you know, start of the month, basically, whatever, since we came down here, I do want Ethereum to have one last run up. And obviously my backup for this was, if Ben is saying this, then I think I'm all right. Because if I'm wrong, then Ben's wrong. If Ben's wrong, I feel happy. I'm not saying I want him to be wrong, but as in, like, you know, it's like having Einstein agreeing with your formula. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is right. Even if you didn't check it yourself, you've written it down, you've gone, this could be right, I think this is right, and then you've obviously pushed it forward. Einstein's gone, yes, I'm not going to do anything racist, actually. Let me just do normal. Yes, this is genius. You know, I'm Einstein, this is amazing. And you're going, okay, yeah, this is amazing, actually. Yeah, Einstein says it's amazing. I think so, too. Same thing here. Ben thinks we're having all time another run at the high for Ethereum. I was thinking this since down here. Okay, because the difference is, if we had absolutely pummeled, because the difference is, again, Ethereum's price action was crazy with this move. We had this massive daily support with this propulsion block here, which have this move down, move upwards. Propulsion block, we have this midpoint being used. Perfect. Again, obviously the daily usage of this wick here, perfect. We had a lot more support for Ethereum for me to believe that we weren't going to come past that support, and we didn't, and that's why I was believing that we weren't going to have one. I thought we were going to have one last move up towards the high, because again, Bitcoin did this. Obviously, Bitcoin ran up to the high, produced that all-time high, came down, wicked past the high, and then dumped. I think Ethereum could have the same process. Obviously, Solana's a different horse. Of anything, I'm not as proud as on my charts. I'm disappointed in my Solana chart, and I'm hanging my head in shame, okay? Of all the charts I've done on this stream, how successful I've been on Sui, I hang my head on shame for Solana. But anyway, we'll get to it in just a moment. But yeah, I'm happy with Ethereum. I do think we are going to be coming back up to that high. I'm not going to... once I start talking in circles, like I am right now, where I say the same thing, I know it's time to move on. Let's go to Solana. So, Solana, okay. So I know my area was 225, and I was like, oh yeah, I think this area could be pretty good. Obviously, it was this kind of gap which got inverted. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And then we didn't use it, and then I was like, oh no, this isn't great. I'm wrong. I don't like being wrong. I'm normally right. Why am I wrong? So I did obviously not happy about this. It's got its reasons. I'm clearly missing something. Normally, obviously, I'm getting a lot more right lately, which is nice. And normally when I'm wrong, it's something I've obtusely missed, and I've missed it by a grand mile, and I've just obviously just not missed it. And you know what? It's very hard to look at Solana on anything other than the weekly, because you've got to go so far back. And we had this guy. I was like, okay, I don't know why we're stopping. Maybe the gap here. Of course, we have a high. Yes, the gap. Stupid. Of course, this is why we stopped. So then I drew this at 25379. I just shimmied it back up because I drew it wrong. But what I was saying was, we do have these highs. Again, this could be a good area to target for. But if we're not using this, actually, we have. Hold on. We have this candle actually. Actually, what if it's this set of candles here, with this move upwards? These two candles, which are printed for. Actually, well, you know what? Let me draw it out. Okay, let me draw it out. You know, it could. Let me do this nice blue here. I like this blue. I've started to like this blue. It's like a dark blue. It's quite nice. So I went down to 247. Well, you know. I'm disappointed in me. Okay, I'm disappointed in me, and this is why I say, like I said on Bitcoin, I like to, even though I might be super confident in a trade or in a position, I've got to watch for confirmation. You know, it's something where like things won't always be perfect. Anyway, you know, as much as I claim I'm the best person in the entire world and I'm the greatest person in the world and I'm just amazing and I'm so cool and I get everything right and I'm never wrong, and you know, I should be on a mansion right now, or in a mansion on a boat, I suppose to say, and that, you know, I'm just the greatest. You know, I am. You know, I'm who taught Warren Buffett and all this sort of stuff. All right, it's not true. I'm lying. I might be the oracle, but I'm not a saint. But obviously we just have this area. We'll stop talking now. But you can see, obviously, we did have this, you know, move upwards, you know, past the high, move downwards. But, so we do have something on the 4 hour. We do still have resistance. I know I was being really, really, really negative. We do have something. So I think with this, it's like this is like similar on the weekly. We didn't print past this high, actually. Interesting. Well, what's really annoying on the monthly? We didn't print past this high. We did not print past this low either. So we're kind of just like floating, aren't we? We have these. We work past this. We work past this. So let's not look at the monthly because it's not really going to tell us anything. So with this, again, same thing here. We had the high, but we didn't print past it. We have this low, and we did print past it. Oh, we printed past it. This isn't great. So that's why I drew this retracement all that time ago. We had this retracement. Same thing. I mean, again, it's like, oh, well, you know, we're in an uptrend. Why aren't we going to stop? Again, we go up until we stop. So we have, you know, that. But again, this isn't stuff on the weekly. This is stuff on, like, not even the daily. This is the 4 hour stuff. So is it going to be strong? You know what I mean? But again, we had that order block. We do have these highs. So even though I have just drawn, am I confident in it? We could go a bit higher. I don't want to be wrong there. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to say we could go a bit higher and we don't go high, because then I'm just looking like a fool. I'm going to look like an idiot on Solana. I'm going to want to run away and not look at this ever again. But by golly, if we had a move up right now in this. So we did have this gap. We have filled it. How strong are we looking, though, is my question. Are we going to be using this? Is this going to be the stopping point? Well, okay. Let's say it is the stopping point. We've had a massive move with so much here. All this to be considered here. We have this. I'm trying to formulate this in my head quickly. We have the move. With this move down to move up, we come back down. We come back upwards. We have support. We have support. We fulfill. We come down. Okay, so we have support. So we have this in this area, and then we draw this out, and then it's in that area, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. We have this area down here, and it's support. There we go. So, and we have that. We had that. You know, this support here, which we have here, and then we have the, you know, we had this support coming from this area, which came up in this candle. We come back down into it, we use it support, come upwards. So we have this as support. We have a midpoint here. We have a gap here. So we have residing support in this area. So we do have something. Okay, cool. So I figured it out now. We do have support in this area. Now I know this is the thing, is I've done this before in Bitcoin. I was horribly wrong. I vowed to myself I would never do this ever again. Where even though on the higher time frame we've come surplusly above, or in the other case below, surplusly above equilibrium, I was still looking at the uptrend on the lower time frame going, guys, we can still go up, even though the whole point of using this and the uptrend was to get to this point and then continue back downwards. But we do have pretty strong move. So, you know, we do have grounds to not, you know, to not go all the way down to 140. But again, we do also have on the flips side this area potentially, which obviously we came past the high, came down, resistance. We have these nice highs here. This could be a great target. I do think we'll see resistance here. We could do another higher low. This could be a great target at this 2 area. Am I wrong? I could be. And that's the glory of doing this. And that's the glory of not being a liar. Because I could be wrong. And I say this with my whole heart. And this is why I say, and this is why I give confidence scores. Sometimes, again, I didn't do that with Bitcoin because sometimes I can't bother. This is why I try to give, especially with well-issued finance, I give confidence scores in what I'm talking about. Because if I'm not confident in something, I just don't trade it. You know, it's like, okay, I don't know. I have valid reason to think we could find a low, and I have valid reason why we think we could go higher. But I also have valid reason that we've come into a resistance point well above equilibrium. So I have valid reason where we could reverse here. You know what I mean? So it's like I have valid reason on both sides. So this is why I would rather not bother with it. But if I was to draw charts and actually try and partake, this is what I would draw and this is what I would look at. I would look at this massive resistance area we had here with all those lovely highs on the way down, these triple highs here. I think that could be a great target. So even though I know I've drawn this and I know my target was down here and we've come past it, and you think, oh, well, your target was down here, why are you now bullish? Maybe I'm the fool. Okay, maybe I'm the fool. Maybe I'm the idiot who's like, oh, I've missed out, guys. Let's FOMO. It can go higher, guys. Let's short even higher. So yeah, I will say that. But we'll see. By the time we get down here, it's not going to be today. So I want to watch it. But I do think it could be a good target up there. But I'm going to stop talking now because I do need to move on to some other charts. I know this is really a non-constructive time on Solana. I know I've basically not really said a lot, but I have alluded to the idea of us having just one more push, guys, one more push. Anyway, so now we're gonna get back to the charts, which are doing well. Okay, we had Bitcoin, great. Solana, Ethereum, I mean, great. Solana, Syrup, great. Sui, beautiful. CRO, pretty beautiful. I might look at XRP. I haven't looked at XRP. I haven't looked at XRP since last stream, whenever it was. So I might look at it. I don't know what we're at $3.10. I don't know where I was last time. It might have been $2.90. We did have resistance above us. I will have a glance at it. Anyway, Syrup. So we came upwards and then we came down. We didn't get past this low, but we haven't got past this high. So you know what I mean. We're in the works here. But look at how nice this is. You know, boom, 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 high, boom, 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 down. Look at this. You know, we have the high, we have this, we have a reversal, bang. Look, it's just beautiful. Really great price action. Now, I don't know where I stopped drawing this because this arrow stops in this area. So, but this has followed it really nicely. But it doesn't matter. Again, it's just a drawing. But obviously I did orchestrate us coming back down. We did have this. I don't know what this was. What was this? What is this even? I think an order block, I guess. We had this singular candle coming past these highs, printing downwards, found resistance at the midpoint, found resistance at the midpoint pretty nicely there. I think I remember talking about this actually on stream. And then we came back down, and then we had this area. I don't know what this is. It might be an inverted gap. We do have an inverted gap. We actually have a normal gap even. I could also just talk about the fact we have a normal gap. I don't really need to look at the inverted. We have a real nice usage of it there. But again, we have reason to go. And even though we're on the consensus, I know the chart's really messy here. I do apologize. Even though we're on the consensus that we're in this general move upwards to go finally past this low. We missed it by a tiny bit. Come past this low finally. We can still have these uptrends and downtrends, like we just looked at on Solana, like we looked at on Bitcoin. You can have these uptrends and downtrends. It's just when do you stop at? Anyway, so also within this, we had this high to this low, again, coming to this whole smorgasbord of mess. We had an order block here, we had a propulsion block, We came to touch this area on our chinny chin and tickle it here, and then came back upwards, came above this equilibrium, found our first point of resistance, our first domino in the set of dominoes. We have highs here, we have high, we have high, we have order block probably somewhere up here, we have high. So we have a set of things to look at. First thing, we find a response on the lower time frame, we start to reverse. Brilliant, you catch that trade on the lower time frame, you ride that baby down all the way to the low. There you go, beautiful. Anyway, so what you can do here is we can delete this. We can delete this lower even as well. I don't know why that's there. And then what we can do is, I don't know why I'm drawing like this because this is horrible. We can do the high to the low. We hit our low, which obviously was that gap which we fulfilled on the daily. We hit that midpoint. We can delete this now. I don't need this. We can probably, I can't bother to have this on my screen. I'm going to delete it. Oh, you know what? No, I don't feel comfortable about that. Let me do that. Okay, there we go. So we have the high to the low. And now, no. See, I knew I drew it wrong. I was confused then. And then we have our equilibrium. So what do we have? Okay, so what I'm interested in, we had a little gap here. We had a high. We came down. We came past the high in this candle, a massive dump. So this is going to be resistance in this candle. This singular candle here with this massive print through it, taking out this. I do want to see this on the lower time frames here. We don't really have much. It's going to be hard to see for a gap. We don't really necessarily have a gap here. We had highs, taking this massive dump. We also have a gap here in this move. So even though this is a 4-hour gap, we could potentially have a bit of an interesting area here. We have relative highs here and a gap here, so we do have something within this. So we have, not only do we have an order block on the 4-hour, we have a 1-hour gap in this area, so we can kind of enhance this area to basically sit at around this 47-cent area, which just so happens to be this area here. So pretty nice there. And then we have some highs here to take. So I do think we are on the way upwards. Obviously you can see we've printed past these highs, we have printed upwards. We are coming down a bit though. Let me see what we've done here. Oh, we had the same thing here actually. We had a gap here which we came into and then dumped. So we do have these candles here of resistance, and you can see we kind of come up to this area. Now we're coming down again. So this could be a similar scenario we had over here, where we came above equilibrium, found a resistance point in this whole move, came to that midpoint, and then there you go. So we do have that with that gap. Let's go to the 4-hour here. Gap. Yeah, it's pretty much just this gap area coming up into here and coming downwards. So yeah, we could maybe be seeing a lot of resistance here. We might have missed this high. Oh well. We'll see how it prints. I do want to see if we can basically, okay, now that we've done this, and this low isn't really great of a target to aim for because it's so close to us, but you can kind of clearly see we have our low, we have some choppy price action here. We have our low. If you do it the extremes, we have these lows. We have a high here and a low here, so we kind of have this as our last low before we pumped upwards, got to resistance area, and now we're starting to really expand downwards and probably target these lows. If it's not this low, it's going to be within these lows here. So this is probably the most extreme low in this series. So this is definitely where I think price is going to want to aim for. And if we print past this, this is probably us printing past that low, and there you go. So what I will look at actually as well is I want to see if we have kind of like an order block scenario going on. So what do we have? We had higher time frame point of interest. We have this candle here, so this is going to be a positive support point. You can see we came back down into it with these sets of candles and then printed back upwards. So we're going to have a bit of stuff here. We have kind of came upwards, came down again. We have a candle here. It's a whole load of stuff going on. This candle following upwards, and you can see with this one actually we touched that midpoint pretty nicely. And then we kind of came down and used this area. Especially, we kind of came upwards, came down, used it, pumped upwards. So we might have something here, you know. But again, I think we are properly dumping. So whatever we formed on the way upwards, it won't matter because, again, higher time frame, this is our resistance point. So I do think syrup might be on the way down towards this low. This is a massive expansion downwards, especially finding that resistance point. And with this candle printing past it, this will be a resistance point here as well. So even if we reverse this print on the 4-hour in literally 1 minute and 10 seconds, if we print past this, targeting obviously where we looked at on the 1 hour, this will be resistance. We could have reversed back up into it and come downwards and continue lower, aiming for these previous lows at 42.45. So I think syrup is continuing on the way downwards. I do think we are seeing this way our move on the way downwards. We obviously had this gap. The only thing which stopped us really, we have this whole area. What we do have as well is we do have this candle, which you can see we produced. We came upwards, found on resistance. We didn't use its support, came downwards. So this is also a breaker we have here. So if we draw this out, we can see we kind of wicked on this point here. We kind of came up a bit more. We also had breaker for this gap as well. So we have also fulfilled this as well. So I just kind of want to see how we use this. Pretty nice. Again, we did come a bit higher, to be fair. We did wick on it, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because we've already found a resistance. So it's just, you know, apples and oranges, whatever the phrase is. You know, it's all part of the same family or whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, 42.43 is the target for syrup. Let's just move on to Sui. So Sui's been absolutely beautiful to me so far. It's been absolutely beautiful. So with Sui, this is the daily here. We were talking about these areas. I think I looked at this on the 2-day. It was somewhere here. I looked at this. We had the gap at $3.20 to print at. We had the fulfillment at $3.11, $3.10. This is why I was saying $3.15-ish area, which was in the midpoint of those two areas. We also had the weekly gap. That's not what I wanted to do. We had the weekly gap. which stops. Yeah, I don't know why it's not drawn properly, but there, whatever. We did wick to there. The fulfillment of this was $3.10, $3.09. We just about skimmed that, to be fair, but we did fulfill pretty much the entire thing of that move. But regardless, the daily gap was where we were really focusing on. I don't know why I have this drawn, because this isn't actually the main whole area, so I'm actually gonna delete that. But it was this main gap anyway. We were targeting, which was obviously the $3.15 area I was kind of talking about. We came to that rough area anyway, a good entry, and it was just a perfect reversal really from there, coming upwards, printing past this high, which is why I have that reversal, which I'll leave it on the screen, whatever. I was talking to Mike about Sui actually, and why I think it was going to go upwards. I didn't actually trade this. I'm disappointed in myself. I was looking at myself in the mirror. I said, "You're such a stupid idiot. Why didn't you not trade this?" But you can only do so much. So anyway, we did this great. We had this red area. If we go back to the daily, we can see it's a bit clearer. We can see we had the gap here. We come back up into it. We kind of come up into it a bit there. As you can see, we just about get above that equilibrium with that gap here. We obviously had drawn out with that entry. I think I actually did have this trade for Sui. Come just about above equilibrium. Find that stopping point in this gap. Come down. So we have that formation of coming up into a point of interest, printing downwards with this candle. This is now resistance. We did use it as resistance once, and now we've come up and reversed it, especially with this candle. So you can see this is now going to be a breaker. We have taking the low of it, and now we've taken the high of it. We've printed past the low, we've printed past the high, and now we are going to want to be looking at it to use it as support. So that's why I had this as an area of interest, because obviously we've come in from the higher time frame buy area, if you will. We have this area of support. Again, we've also wanted to look at us coming back down below equilibrium from the low to the high. So not only do we have us below equilibrium to find that point to buy at, we also have reason to stop with this breaker block. We also have come from this reversal area, so we know we should be aiming for an uptrend. So all these things together was actually one of the highest probability things I've looked at in a long time. Again, obviously I've looked at so many different charts, but this was, I drew this maybe, I think it might have been maybe a day ago. Maybe, when did I draw this? I don't know when I drew this. I don't know when I drew this, actually. I have it on my... I think I was sending it to my dad on WhatsApp. So it's probably somewhere in the history. But I was looking at this going, this is pretty good. So again, this red line obviously indicates that that equilibrium point here I have marked out there. So again, we entered on that midpoint, coming upwards, aiming for the high. Great. Brilliant. This was actually really nice to look at. This is really, really nice price action. So again, and we're just continuing that uptrend. And we've been talking... I know it's very messy, so what I can do is this newfound technology. Move down low, print upwards. We had this high. In terms of a major high, you can see move upwards, move downwards. This is probably one of the major highs here. We have clearly started to try to... We haven't actually fully printed past it yet, but we've clearly had the high to the low, and even on the 4-hour here, you can clearly see we've started this uptrend now. And again, what was the main idea for this? Again, daily was obviously this downtrend. We had this downtrend. Why did we have it? Again, same thing. We go up until we stop to have reason. We go down till we stop and have reason. So here, for example, we had these relative lows for this gap area, obviously aiming to fulfill this gap. We continued down in this downtrend because obviously we printed past this high. So we came upwards, came down, found support, came upwards, printed past here, came down to find support. So what do you think I'm going to be saying now? Well, we've come past equilibrium. We found that reversal point. We're pumping now for Sui. Where do we want to aim for? The previous high. So $4.44 I think is my high point for Sui. I do think I want to be aiming for there. Again, we've been talking about it since over here at $3.20. Obviously we looked at this probably a Tuesday it would have been. So that would have been this candle here about $3.30. I was drawing it back there anyway. If we go to price action, you can see I was drawing... Oh no, where is it again? I was drawing it. I don't know why it's here anymore. Wait, I had it drawn. I think I had this drawn. I was looking at this $2.20 in this Tuesday. So I was streaming here, for example, and we were looking at this reversal pretty much live, actually. So great for Sui. This is probably one of the best charts to look at today. But again, I don't think we're just stopping at $3.80 or whatever it is exactly. I think we are continuing upwards to that $4.44 area. Perfectly fine. So great for Sui. CRO. I haven't looked at CRO in a while. Let's zoom out a bit. This is messy. Let's go to this new amazing thing I've got. So we had that resistance. We had this all the way from back here on the weekly, I think it was. One of these gaps we had filled here. Obviously, the interest in this area was the fact that we had these two, we had this gap here, which came upwards, came down, we engulf it here. Okay, cool, we might be forming support, but again, we're in this massive downtrend. So we have this move here. We printed past the high of it. Again, obviously, this is pretty valid. We also had a resistance point here. Again, we had this gap. We have this move upwards. We have this candle, which actually came into this area with this engulf. And you can see we came to final resistance here in this area. So this whole move up, this whole move down is technically going to be a propulsion block. So not only do we have this propulsion, which starts at this low here, we have this gap. So we have resistance, we have order block, and we have gap, which is a good pairing I've found quite commonly, where you have this area formed, the low of it being about obviously 37 cents in this case, and a gap is going to be a great area to target for. Obviously, the midpoint of that being really nicely pointed at 37.1. So we came up, we filled it perfectly. Brilliant trade, brilliant, or brilliant price action. Great. Obviously, from there we can go back to the daily and have a look. So what I've been calling for, we had this gap here. And what I said on Twitter anyway, and a lot of people weren't very happy with me on Twitter, but obviously I tweeted it anyway. I've actually been trying to tweet a bit more on Twitter. I actually will be tweeting about Sui, and probably CRO actually, giving an update on us probably potentially reversing. But anyway, whatever. The main thing was looking at this gap. Obviously, again, the difference with this was obviously we had this massive move, massive retracement, and again the same thing we looked at on Bitcoin, where I was drawing, where we had these massive move upwards, where it results in the, if you're moving upwards. I don't know why it's doing that. What's going on? There we go. Where like if you have these massive move upwards, the equilibrium is going to be here relative to if it's here, for example, where it's like it's a lot small to get to, a lot small to move, but if you have a massive move upwards, especially if it's such a massive move, I think this was the American government system which went on with CRO. So obviously that's why we had this massive pump. But obviously we wanted that recovery on the weekly anyway for this area, but nonetheless, we had this massive move upwards. Now, I know even though on the weekly this is literally just high to a low to come upwards, and we have printed past this low, I do still think we are in this capable area to come back upwards one more time. I don't know if we're aiming for 38 cent again. I don't actually know if we're going to be doing that. Actually, already had this order block drawn out, actually, which we talked about earlier, which actually had that gap filled. Actually, was already talking about this. So on the weekly instead of the daily, we did have that gap which filled. So yeah, anyway, whatever. So I don't know if we can come back to 38.7 again. Personally, I might be completely wrong there, but I do still think we'll see some sort of move upwards for CRO. Now, in terms of price action, again, I have this marked out. I had a lower time frame, 1 hour maybe gap here. Yeah, 1 hour gap. Just to look at it, we did see a bit of support here, but again, we're still continuing down to fulfill the majority of this area. So, as I said, even though the midpoint is 23.5, my main area, which I was talking about in general, was 22 cents, and we got to about 22.4. So not exactly to 22 cents, but that's why I did the squiggly equal sign, which means around about 22 cents. So we've kind of come down. Again, we have had these moments where we have come upwards. Now, I'm not saying we are going to see support here. We actually have formed a support here on 4 hour. This is the 1 hour. I'm not going to keep that up because it's a bit much. But we do have even though in this case you can see we have this low to the high, we didn't get to the equilibrium. That's why I extended it a bit higher. That's why I want to even though we've come high in this midpoint, we've kind of come upwards and kind of really extended. We haven't hit main point up here. We did have this major down move for the move upwards. I do think this is to be support. Not only do we have that, we have this inverted gap here, which I was is this on the 1 hour? Yeah, here we go. So you can see, obviously, in this case, we kind of moved up, kind of into it, flipped it, came towards that midpoint here, and then obviously continue back upwards. And we actually have this here on the 1 hour, which is why I had that drawn. On the 4 hour, we do have that little gap here. So we could potentially be seeing this 1 hour gap, or this 1 hour equilibrium being used based on this 4 hour gap here, obviously having this this reversal point potentially for the breaking block. But I do think at some point soon I would expect CRO to be reversing. Now, this could be valid reason for it, but even though we did see uptrends here, so I'm not confirming this at all right now. This is why I'm still sitting waiting on this move to continue, but I do expect CRO to potentially see a bit of a reversal point soon. or I would want to see it anyway. Obviously, this is, might be biased here or whatever, but I would want to see it was reverse. But yeah, we haven't done anything particular on the daily, which confirms that we have printed above a high. We still have a mini gap here on the on this area. We have this down candle. I don't really think we have much resistance. Maybe on the 4 hour we might see something. If we mark out that daily gap at 25.2, it's gonna be really messy now, isn't it? Oh. Just want to see if there's anything here. Not really. It kind of comes down to here. We kind of potentially have this here, but not particularly. Not really much. We kind of use this. We use it as support. Nothing really in the grand scheme of things. But on the daily anyway, we haven't really printed significantly above anything. Even on the 4, we haven't done it yet. So I'm not saying we have printed above the high and we're doing great. Uptrend. Here we go for CRO. But I do think relative to the 1 hour, 4 hour, we could be starting a bit more of a move upwards. And relative to that, on the 4 hour anyway, we don't really have much resistance apart from that mini daily gap here, which we could see a bit of resistance. But other than that, it's mainly aiming for highs up here and coming upwards. And by then, for the 4 hour, we're probably aiming to here. And again, this was the Truth Social thing. CRO Diamond, I don't know what it was. I don't really care what it was. We took out these highs really nicely here as well, which was lovely to see. Again, if you mark out, we basically have 4 equal highs here. We took that really lovely, came down. If you looked at this as a rejection block, we kind of came up into it, but it doesn't matter. This was actually more of a kind of an order block, not really an order block. We didn't really fulfill it or anything. It wasn't really much here. It was kind of just offset of the first pump, which results in this. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. We had a little gap. It doesn't matter. I don't care. All I'm saying is I think CRO could potentially be seeing that move upwards. But just to give an update on CRO anyway, to see that 22 cent ranged area here, down here, we've finally found our support point, or potentially found our support point, and maybe coming upwards. Not financial advice. So I'll see. I want to sit on this. I'm not convinced in this yet. I do think we can go lower, even though the 1 hour we do kind of have a gap here. I do think we can go lower towards here, but if we start to go lower and start to pump again and get past this high, because again, remember what we've done on Bitcoin on the weekly, where we have a higher low, we have a higher low, but it's higher, but our expansion wasn't that high. The same thing here, where if we produce a high here, which obviously we have done, and start to come back downwards, if we don't get past this low and get upwards again and get past this high, that's us printing past the high. That's us having this low to the high, coming down here, higher low, reversing, that's us coming upwards. And especially having this inverted gap here, having this massive order block here, we could definitely see support again at 23, fulfilling the inverted gap here we have at 23-ish cents. I do think we can reverse back down into this area. I don't really care what's going on the 1 hour. 4 hours probably trumps it. Inverted gap, break, order block right now, finding resistance, coming downwards. I think we'll flip this. We'll probably find support. So if we miss an entry here, let's say, not saying I will trade this, if we were to miss an entry here, in theory, we could re-enter on a reversal of this resistance here to find support and continue higher if we were to do this. But from here, I'm still want us to come. I would want to see us to come lower into potential support area. Not only do we have a gap, but also a support point with this area here. So we could potentially see some sort of action there. But I am over by 30 minutes. Okay, it is 10:13. Obviously my time. I do want to end the stream. Okay, everyone's left, everyone's got bored, they see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, they leave. Okay, that's fine, I don't mind. I enjoy looking at the charts anyways. Even if there's 0 people here, I will still look at the charts on the stream. Anyway, thank you all of you for being here. Appreciate you all. It's a shame I couldn't get Square to work, but whatever, we'll be back and do another stream. I will be back Saturday. I don't think we're doing another BC game thing on Friday. I don't think so. So I guess I'll just be back on Saturday. Again, by the time Solana's moved on Saturday, we probably won't see that low. Again, we could move pretty drastically. So we've either gone up to our resistance higher, or we've had a retracement to find support and maybe go higher. We'll see what happens with Solana, but you know what I mean. I am obviously, we'll see it on Saturday. I won't say too much. We'll see it on Saturday. So apart from that, I'm pretty happy. KV's still here. I think you'll. On my stream software, it says 0 people here. So I think it's obviously sometimes it just lies to me. It just it just pretends there's nobody here to insult me. But obviously appreciate you being here to the end. I know I talk a lot, and I guess a lot of people who watch us, obviously like Danny for example, and Mags or whatever. I don't know if these guys are still here anyway. Me talking for an hour and 40 minutes about specifics of charts and whatnot, I can understand it. It's just the last thing you want to do. on a Thursday evening. So, but anyway, I appreciate you, KB, for still being here, as of what I know anyway. But obviously, opinion, as you already know. I will be back Saturday. I'm pretty happy so far. I'm very happy with Syrup. I'm very happy with Sui. I'm pretty happy with Ethereum. I'm happy with Bitcoin. Everything. I'm still obviously juggling with Solana. Out of mostly everything I've covered today, I can't bother to look at XRP. I'll look at XRP Saturday. I'll prepare some charts for Saturday. Actually, I'll show the moon chart while I'm sitting here, just to see how it goes. But anyway, in case anyone missed it on our stream yesterday, again, I'll be back Saturday. I'm yapping. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your Friday, of your week and whatnot. Saturday and whatnot. I'll be back on the evenings of Saturday, unless it's time zones and whatnot. But yes, I will be back then. I will try. I think I want to tweet about Sui. I don't want to tweet about Bitcoin because the communities of Bitcoin and Ethereum and like the actual impact I'll actually hit for people to look at Bitcoin, I can't really be bothered. And I'm happy about Sui and happy about CRO. So I'll probably do a tweet about CRO and Sui. So there might be a Twitter link in the description. I don't know. If not, I'll be updating it for Saturday. So if you want to see a tweet there, I'll be tweeting, I guess. If you might accidentally see it on your timeline, whatever, I'll be there. But that's got nothing else to say. Nothing else to say. Thank you. I've wasted an extra 3 minutes. I'm proud. I'm so proud of myself. Thank you. See you Saturday. Goodbye.